Alright, this is one of the last parts of the physical build that we're going to do. We're going to install the landing gear now. So as you can see in the picture here, these are the parts we'll be using. We have pretty much everything else we've built up to this point. All you're really going to need is the screws here on the right hand side. Up right over here. And we're going to then use the vertical and horizontal landing gear pieces. So we're going to start off. In a second. There we go. And we're going to install the vertical landing gear pieces right here, the carbon fiber. They will come out on a bit of an angle. As you can see, they can connect right into our base connector piece there. Give you a better view. So there will be the 4 screws that go into each one right off the sides of our flight controller. Don't forget to use your Loctite there. On mine, you can see it. Connect one right there. You're going to be using those 8. You should have 8 of these black, I believe it's the M3s. They do not have the washer on the bottom, as the plate itself acts as the washer. Cinches it up. Anywho, so you'll have your 8 connected there. Do it on both sides. And next we will proceed, once that's connected secure, we proceed to the next section, which is installing the horizontal ones. So in this picture, it's up close because you will need to loosen the 3 bolts in the image. You can use that with your whatever you've been using, the socket, screwdriver. Loosen those 3 as much as you want, or I mean almost as much as you can. They have a washer on the other side. You don't need to completely loosen them, as it will fit once they are just loosened all the way without knocking that washer off. If you do, it's not a problem. Anyways, once you get it loosened, you can then slide this end right onto that vertical part. It will just slide onto the bottom of it. There you go. You can see the 2. I slid them on, and then you will retighten those bolts. Once it's slid on, just go ahead, tighten all 3 of those bolts up, and that will clamp it back down and hold it nice and secure onto your vertical beam. And there you'll go. You'll have it, and it should be all connected. Get ready to upload that firmware onto your drone. So we're going, as you can see, I've already been here. We are going to be using the Mate's Keys F405 wing. Keep that in mind for later. So you're going to kind of just scroll down here. If you do not already have the Cube programmer on, you're going to need to install that, as it's how we are going to be flashing it onto our drone. So go ahead and do that and follow their instructions if you need it. Otherwise, we're going to continue on to downloading the firmware. So you can go ahead and skip this first prompt here for the firmware. If you click this link right here on Copter, as that's what ours is, we're going to be doing a quadcopter here. You can click that and then scroll down. We're going to be looking for stable. So go ahead and show you that. Mine's already highlighted, as I mentioned. We just want stable. And you'll proceed to look for the one we were looking at, the one that I mentioned before at the top. Mate's Key, the Maytag F405 wing. Remember, you definitely want wing, not heli, as that works better with the equipment that we have. All right, and then at the beginning, remember, we want the bl.hex, because that was the instructions that I had mentioned at the very beginning that is to take note of. And you're going to go ahead and download that. So as you should have your flight control board, flight controller there, connected to your computer, as we did in the last video with our USB port. Here, as you can see in the instructions, it's just saying a way that we can check to make sure that we did connect properly with that DPU. I have my device manager open. Scroll down to the bottom, Universal Serial Bus Devices, and there it is. We are connected and ready to go, so that we won't need that. And next, you should have downloaded the STM32 Cube Programmer, as it mentioned at the beginning of this walkthrough. I have that downloaded and opened, so we're going to proceed to navigate this portion of it. All right. So when you first open this section of the screen will be blank, as you are not yet connected the Cube Programmer with your flight controller. If you follow the instructions on this web page, it will show the same. Really good. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to make sure that you are connected properly. So go ahead. You're just going to verify that this says USB. It should show the designated port that you connected your flight controller to. For me, it was USB 1. And just show that there is information there to be gathered. Once that's ready to go, right here, this green button will say connect. And disconnect, so you can see this is what it'll look like. Come up, everything looks right. I hit connect. Then I can come through and check that that information is correct. And now all the information from my flight controller is appearing in this window. So at this point, you should be able to go into the open file portion, and that Arducopter that we just downloaded in the step before, the with bl.hex, you will be able to open that. Now it is here, it's open, it's part of it, and you'll be able to download that right onto your flight controller. And it should go into the flight controller. You should still be connected from installing the firmware. However, after you installed it, the instruction did inform you to disconnect it and reconnect it. This time you do not need to hold down the DPU button as you turn it on. Just connect it to your computer by plugging it in directly, and you should be good to go. Once you've done that, you're going to open Mission Planner. Ensure that your flight controller's lights are flashing. And once it loads up, you should get to a screen similar to this one that I'm on. And in the top right-hand corner where my mouse is, you're going to see where you can connect. So make sure that this first one is on COM. It will be then a number. Mine usually shows 4. So make sure you're on COM though, and then set it to 115,200. This is going to be the speed at which your drone and computer are communicating at. Once you've done that, you'll hit connect and just wait for it to go through its process of connecting. And there you go. This is what it looks like once it's connected. You'll start to get information here on the left-hand side of the screen. If that didn't work going through COM, sometimes doing it auto works, but if you can get it to work this way, that's what I'd recommend. So, and once you start getting numbers, that's a good sign that it's connected and it's working. Mine's obviously it's going to be disarmed. This won't power your ESCs or your motors or anything. And you can start to move it, in that virtual horizon will kind of show as I'm moving my drone that it's working and that I am connected and everything's operational properly. So that's always nice to know. So what we're going to start off by doing is, if you install your flight controller in the same way I did, we're technically 90 degrees off from where we want the front of the drone to be. So we're going to just start off by quickly taking care of that through this software of Mission Planner. You're going to come up to this top left-hand corner to the configuration tab, the wrench here. Once you get up here, it'll open up a bunch of options over here on the left-hand side. Go down here to the third to the bottom of that full parameter list. Give it a second to load. All right, and this will pull up a whole bunch of options. So instead of searching through all this by ourselves, you can come over to the middle of this right-hand side where we also have some more tools to use. And we're just going to go to that search bar. All right, and right here you're going to type AHRS underscore orientation. All right. So this brings up 2. Ignore this one that's compass, where you want the one that we typed in, the AHRS orientation. Your value should be different. Mine's already been changed. You're going to go to this value tab and change yours to 2. Click on it. It'll highlight blue. Type the number 2 in, then hit enter. And it should save it. And then you'll just come over here to that top right hand corner again where my mouse is. Write parameters. Now they've been saved to that. And that will change your orientation to the front being where we designed it to be and not where the flight controller thinks it is. You can now use that virtual horizon again, and everything should be orienting properly. As before, it should have been slightly off if you installed your flight controller in the same orientation as I did, whereas on the base plate, those 3 lines put into it are designated as the front. So along with that, we're going to need to go to the setup tab, because rotating the flight controller also caused a little bit of an issue in that the flight controller will be controlling the wrong motor. So we're going to have to change that. So you're going to go to the setup tab under mandatory hardware here on the left hand side in the menu. You're going to go down to the middle and find server output, which should bring you to a screen like this one. Just go ahead and change them to this function right here in the middle, this tab. Change them to the motor order that I have right here. Don't worry about the other values. They should correct themselves accordingly. You'll want motor 2 in this top, then motor 4, motor 3, and then motor 1. And that should get everything squared away there for you. Okay, and then there is one last thing that we're going to have to do. We're going to have to go back to that configuration tab, and that should auto-save as well what we just did with the motors. So don't worry about that. Okay, so our quadcopter doesn't actually have a compass. However, programming we installed thinks it does. We're going to have to just go in here to our mission planner and disable that so that it doesn't have any issues. That's something that you can install on a future date and change if needed. So go back over to this right hand side once you get to the configuration tab, full parameter list, and we're going to search through there and search compass underscore enable. All right. Then once you get here, again, we're just going to go with that one that actually what we typed in. It's going to be the top one in this case. You're going to go ahead and change that value. Yours should be set default to 1, which is enabled, as you can see in this options. We want to change this second value to 0. So again, click on it. It highlights blue. You type in 0, and you can see the flashing cursor there. Hit enter. The blue line moves. That means it's now changed its value to 1 or to 0. And then you will write parameters again to save that. Parameters saved successfully. Okay. Now you made good progress. If you want, this is a great place. You can while you're in this configurations tab, go to save file. That will save all of the changes we've made so far. Kind of just give you a backup file onto your computer. So just go ahead if you want to do that. This is a great time to create that backup file of just saving it onto your computer so you have it somewhere else. Have more things to work on. And we're going to go over here. This time we're going to be working on the battery failsafe. So you're going to start off by typing BATT underscore volt underscore pin. Now this brings up to the one you're going to want to change or verify is that this lower one does say 10 and this top one does say 11. If they say anything else, you'll want to go in and change them. Then you don't need to save quite yet. If you want to, go ahead, but we're going to just keep searching for the other values we're going to have to change.